looks like... Okay, cool. Looks like we're going. Alright. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Shiggles and Giggles Podcast on a Monday, where I just did one yesterday with another good buddy of mine, but today here I have another very good friend of mine, college friend, and the one who had the nickname of Remember Embarrassing Yourself, Arlie.
Hello.
And he was another one that I wanted to bring over with her from yesterday, but because a lot of scheduling stuff went on, I was like, you know what, let's do this. This is technically a part 2, and I just wanted to go ahead, have him on as well, and just be able to have pretty much everyone that I can. And I think for now, out of everyone that I wanted on, I know there's probably like a couple other people, but I know I had like likely scheduling conflicts as well, so I can have them pop in at like a later time. But other than that, this will be like the last podcast with anyone who's new, and I'll likely bring everyone else on later. But if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, Arlie, you can.
Hello. I'm Arlie. I didn't know the podcast name was Shiggles and Giggles. That's
Yeah,
good.
that was my bad for not mentioning the name, but that was definitely something that I just thought, like, hey, just doing this for shits and giggles. Yet shits and giggles was already taken, so I was like, all right, let's go with the next best thing.
Um, yeah, my name's Arlie. I do a lot of things for a startup called Decision Tactical. I don't have a job title there, but I'm one of the few people keeping everything afloat. Um,
Oh man,
yeah, that's about it. Yeah, that's my whole life, right? Uh,
that's completely understandable.
Consuming my every waking moment with work. Who else
Cause
doesn't do that?
yeah, who else doesn't anymore nowadays? Considering everyone has to work in their lives as well. I know my job too. Every waking moment that I'm up on the weekend is when I have to work, and then by the time I'm off, I have like maybe 2 or 3 hours of being able to stay up. Or if I end up doing that, I know I'll have even less sleep. But that's besides the point. But I know earlier we were talking about like how everyone else was doing. I don't know if you had anyone else probably in mind, if you did have anyone else in mind, but
No, I think that's everyone that I kept up with, and I'm gonna feel
mm-hmm.
bad if I forgot someone.
Yeah,
But
no, it's completely
yeah,
understandable. I'm definitely glad like some people are doing really well, and feel awful that others didn't really have it so lucky. I never got to mention to you after Hall of Fame, I ended up getting, what was it? Technically like 3 job offers in a sense, with like stuff relating to game design. One of them
oh,
was,
that's
yeah, it was,
that's insane.
yeah, I was surprised. Though sadly it wasn't Rooster Teeth, and of course considering this podcast, that was like the whole basis of what I wanted this to kind of be, which is talking about whatever and having all that. But the first was, I'm trying to remember exactly what company it was, but it was, I think it was like a simulation company that they had like their own thing. I know I was mostly on call, or like I would be on Skype, and we would end up having like conversations about like certain projects and stuff. And I think I've only ever drove down there like once or twice.
Was this for that Santa game project?
No, I'm actually gonna get to that there in like a bit, but the
Ooh.
simulation one was like its own thing. I did end up getting paid for like the drive there and back, though I think that was only the one. No, it probably was 2 times that I was over there, but did that, and then I think ever since then, nothing really had happened, and I don't remember if I stopped or if they just stopped talking to me since then. Because I guess I was just like silently like I was like, all right, I guess that ain't happening. But that one, of course, ended up falling through because I was curious to see how that one was gonna go. But that one, of course, never ended up happening. Then leading to the sort of second and third sort of thing was both game dev related, where I talked to who's now like my former boss, but I know he's talked to me every now and again from time to time too. But he was over there at Hall of Fame as well, and it was me, him, and a couple others he ended up bringing onto his team for a good couple years on for his project with that Santa game, like you were
Mm.
mentioning earlier.
Yeah.
Uh, it was definitely a good 2 years and some major changes, but we did end up getting a demo out. But anything further than that, I would say kind of fell through after maybe the second year of being on there. I know
Oh.
yeah, it was a whole rough thing with like people coming in and leaving, and they also had like their own stuff, people that were currently on the team that had like other things going on that couldn't give them any extra time on there, and just overall morale was like down and everything, and I definitely had felt like bad there too, but I had a whole lot of other factors going on with that, but that was definitely one of those. And that whole factor part of it was, I would say, burnout when I worked on that for a couple years, and at least for me, didn't feel like much was getting done aside from like maybe some major stuff. And even with that, I know some of the others definitely had like lower morale, which kind of did the same thing to me. So I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna just go ahead and just take like a long break for a bit. And that, by long break, it was definitely a whole nother like, it was a longer of a break, I would say. Like, I still kind of made stuff here and there, and it wasn't even anything like crazy, but it was definitely a longer break I had in making anything than I did end up being there. Although I still did make some stuff after that, but I had that one, and I had one other one that he also had recommended me to. I stayed about as long there, if not like maybe a few months longer, and then I know I ended up just silently not hopping back on or saying anything, and I personally forgot the Microsoft Teams account there, so I've just lost all track with them, and
Oh.
I've just been off doing my own thing. So all the game dev stuff had kind of fallen through. I know I've wanted to get back into it, but I'm like, I've been afraid of experiencing that burnout again and not having anything to show for it. So I've just been sitting on a degree and stocking shelves for a good couple years after all that stuff's gone down. Because even with COVID, too, that was like kind of how we were, but I know COVID definitely did the same thing.
Yeah.
Bless you.
I after game design, I did simulation and visualization, and I was about to apply to GameStop when well, No, I was going to see where the Full Sail career devs could get me,
Mm-hmm.
and um, I was building my resume, and I had a question about this project that ended up being fairly big there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
this Formula One car that did you ever see the Millennium Falcon at Full Sail?
No, I never got to see it in person.
You've heard of it, right?
I've definitely heard of it. I never got to see it.
Okay. Um, the instructor that set up that was making a Formula One car, and it was going to
Ooh.
replace the Falcon. Um,
Okay.
is it Falcon or Falcon? I hear it both ways.
I've heard mostly Falcon, but I.
Falcon. All right, I'll go with Falcon. Um, so I started that, and I didn't know what to call the project for my uh, resume, and I
Okay.
reached out to him, and he said, "Hey, Arlie, do you want a job?" And that's what led me here, still in Florida,
Nice.
um, doing a police training type facility.
Mm-hmm.
Being there from the start, uh, first hire of the company, and just trying to keep my head afloat as multiple changes happen, and life happens, and
Mm-hmm.
all of that.
Yeah, I completely understand that. I've had similar stuff too, but that's all its own thing. It's all personal stuff, but
Yeah.
definitely just hitting any lows, you just go up. It
Yeah.
happens to everybody.
I actually lived with one of my professors after graduating and getting this position. He said he
Oh
would house
wow,
me for a while.
that's
Um,
nice of him.
very nice, very great guy. I still work with him. He does most of the actual structure programming there.
Nice.
Um, well, he helped facilitate most of everything while we
Gotcha.
launched and before we launched, and yeah, good, good instructor. We went through a very rough project together as a class. It was just me, him, and a couple of other instructors for this game jam for ITSEC.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's where I'm sure he saw some form of work ethic that led me to where I am. But really, really surprising, honestly.
Yeah, no, that's good. I'm curious too, because I don't know how many game jams you've been to since. I know that was like the one I'm sure you've been to since like we've all graduated together, but I know I've thought about going to some, but just because of like time and everything and just a bunch of scheduling issues on my own too, and I wanted to concentrate. I never got to do any, but how many game jams did you end up going to?
Um, I've done a global game jam, and then there was the Iron Dev Challenge.
Hmm,
Uh, that was part of my class. Um,
nice.
yeah, it was a ongoing project, and I was the first student back. I was the only student back at the time. Um, really interesting times. I'm in a piece of promotional material with a VR headset on and a mask, but you can only recognize my
Nice.
hair. Um,
I'm curious because I know Herb still is in like the esports one. I'm curious to see what that one looks like.
an esports game jam?
No, the East, the Armada,
Yeah, he's still in the esports scene.
yeah,
Um,
just not with Armada anymore, but they still have
yeah,
his, like, I know you sent it in the Discord before that. That's still in there. That's still the same image that they use. I don't even think
yeah,
they've changed. Yeah, I don't think they've changed the image in 4 or 5 years.
yeah. That was about 5 years ago, I
Mm-hmm.
believe.
Yeah.
Um, it's crazy how time has moved on
Honestly.
since then.
Yeah. Especially with, everyone having vastly different experiences afterwards.
Yeah, but yeah, I feel like getting a job out of my first degree would have been very unlikely if it weren't for that conversation that I had at Hall of Fame. I would have probably never even been considered for that Rooster Teeth position. Um,
Oh, yeah. I know that's the same way with me. I would have probably had pretty much nothing aside from that one job that I took those 2 trips to go out and do like the simulation projects and stuff with like VR because I forgot to mention it had like VR or AR related stuff to it, but
oh, really?
yeah, that was like it was definitely nice, but I know they definitely didn't end up using my stuff when I ended up going through and doing like my sort of like end of the project, and then when we or had like a whole other project and we tried like bug fixing stuff, and of course I hadn't been able to find anything at the time. I'm sure I'd probably find something wrong with it now and be able to fix it, but I know it was definitely like something at the time that definitely was like a really hefty task, and trying to figure out how to get that all working. But it was that would have been the only thing, and then ever since then I'd probably not have anything if I didn't talk with my now former boss, because I know he still wants to try and get like everyone who's done like a really good job on like his project to get into the game industry. He's been trying for a while, and I think it's been 2 times now that he's been trying to get me into the company he's currently in. But just recently they had that hiring freeze, so they
Mm,
haven't been able to really hire anybody in there since then. But I know he's definitely tried for a while, and I know still has and probably still is, I'm sure. But
that's that's good though.
yeah, it's definitely very good. I'm glad. I know I'm gonna have to try and like get back into actually making game stuff again, just because again my hiatus with game development's been a lot longer than working on uh that Santa game and all of that, because that was probably my most worked on game, and I ended up becoming the lead uh programmer for that one too for a little bit before that ended up stopping, and I was just burnt out. But
Mm,
it was definitely nice, and I felt pretty good with the programming skills I have and still kind of retain. I know visual scripting still is not fun as much as I hated it in the classes that we had to do it. But
Yeah. Are you using Blueprint? Are you in Unreal now?
I've thought about going into Unreal, but I know I've had like my issues with Unreal, and I just haven't
Yeah.
gone back into it. I've still used Unity and still pretty much use it, but I've been doing that with like mainly VR chat stuff. I did dabble back in a little bit to that project with you know that Ruby project. I
Yeah.
think you're still in. Yeah,
Team Ruby. Or that's was that what it was? Project Ruby. No, it was Project
I think it was like Project RFG was what the
RFG, Ruby
yeah.
fighting game. Yeah.
Yeah, but then
I
of
remember
course
telling what was his name? He's no longer part of Rooster Teeth or
I know there was I think it was I know Trevor, there was Gus, and there was the one other person that I think was from like Screw Attack or something that I don't remember his name
yeah, I've got a
exactly.
picture of him and he was kicked out for doing scummy things.
Oh
Um
yeah.
but Rob and I tried telling him about Project RFG.
Oh
Um,
yeah. And I think I even remember going like near and talking with him, and I think he was the guy too that was like, let's hope you don't get sued or whatever for the, and it's like, okay, I guess cool that that could potentially happen, but that didn't really stop me. I still had like quite a bit, but that was until I had to get like animations and stuff, and that was not really a fun time to try and figure out if I want to get anyone who can animate or even trying to do that myself. So it had been on hiatus for a while. I kind of came back for a little bit and actually did like levels and stuff that I was just blocking out, and then since then I pretty much went ahead and just fully stopped working on it entirely just because I was like, yeah, it's probably not, the best. That, and with what happened to Rooster Teeth too, like very recently with them shutting down because of Warner Brothers, which
yeah,
it sucked, but at the same time, I know like they were definitely changing as a company to a point where they felt so hollow, I guess, of what they used to be.
that's how I felt about the whole Rooster Teeth thing that's happened.
Yeah.
Um, I've got an animation hack for you though, but it's part of Unreal. You would have
Okay.
to get into that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, recently, my company has made the decision to switch to Unreal Engine 5, and we've
Mm.
got someone assisting us with that process. And he used his computer's webcam, and he recorded a video, and there is a process on there that actually mapped his movements to a metahuman.
Ooh. Okay. So I know that also
So,
reminds me too. There was what is it? I think I have it, but it was like a motion capture program on Steam that I ended up getting. I think I only tried it like once, but it was a motion capture software. I have it on my wish list. I can actually find it there instead of on my library of 200 plus games.
yeah.
But it allowed you to use VR mocap fusion, yeah. But it had a demo. I went ahead and got that, but then it ended up becoming something that you have to purchase. Oh yeah, I've been invited to play on the play test, so to speak. So I think I
Oh,
still
nice.
have the play test, but I had that, tried it once, but it's like $100 now if you want to get anything. But you can
Mm.
use your VR stuff and you can, in a sense, go through, use different props, and basically go through and do like different animations that you want. Like you'd have to set up like your trackers for like your hips. You'd have to set it for like your feet as well. The controllers for like the hands, and then of course the head should already be set up, but
Yeah.
you can definitely do that as well and pretty much just do cool stuff with it. I never got to do anything more than just like test it and just see how it was, but it was just the whole setup process was interesting, but definitely looked like it was worth trying to use just because it does everything and actually could potentially do like full motion capture without like the setup of having like a bunch of different stuff, or doing like a full motion capture like
Yeah.
set or gear or anything, which I
It
thought
was
was
very
interesting.
expensive.
Yeah, it's way too expensive to just do that, but I know I probably should tinker with it again, honestly. And that was like what I was thinking of using too for the animations, considering I think this was also in Unity, but it's yeah, it looks like export entire mocap scenes directly to Blender and in using built-in animation from recording to rendering in minutes. So you could
Hmm.
definitely put it in Blender, and then I think that's what it looks like. You're just putting it in Blender, but it looked like it was made in Unity, I'm sure, which I
Yeah.
think would be cool to just try and do. But just seeing it in action is like I want to try it again because it looks so good.
I'm looking at a video of it. It looks decent.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know the only thing, couple people said there's literally like no tutorial. Yeah, product did work in the demo, but now whenever I try to record a new character after switching avatars, the recording for the other one disappears. Which
Mm.
it looks like it's having issues, at least with somebody. I haven't seen too much else on it, but it definitely looked cool. I'd have to try it again and see if I still have the playtest inside of my library or not, because I may have uninstalled it just to have some space. Yeah, I have the playtest in there, so I can definitely install it and use that again. So I might just play the playtest again and see how it is later on. But
Yeah.
that's definitely another one. If you end up having like a VR headset or anything like that, that's definitely a solid, like, give it a try in the playtest. I don't know if they have it anymore to allow you to use the playtest.
I see request access for it.
Okay.
Um, I do have a VR headset, but it's 4 years old and it's not great. And if given the option to not use it again, I would.
Which is very fair. Because I know I had my old Vive. I ended up selling that recently. Because I don't know if you knew I
Oh, I
had
should
like an old Vive.
sell my VR headset. I can sell things for monetary goods.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, that's what I did with my old Vive headset, because I have an Index headset now, but then I also ended up deciding, you know what? We're not going to stop there. We're going to get another headset that has eye tracking. So I went ahead
There you go.
and I got the Vive Pro Eye, and I ended up buying the little attachment for it too. And I think I bought it literally days before they ended up discontinuing it too. So
Really?
so I have a completely, well, in a sense it's new, face tracking module, and then the Vive Pro I, I'm pretty sure was out for a little while, that they didn't make those anymore, or anyone could buy it off of Vive. But that one was definitely, it was definitely not as bad as I thought it was gonna be trying to find it, but now it's likely gonna be even more expensive because there's not a lot of people that are gonna sell it for less than like $1,000. That was like, I think it was like 1,100, I believe, or
That's
1,300 when I ended up getting mine, and that was like around 200 or so with shipping or something. And I'm like, Jesus. So
it's a lot of money.
yeah, it's a lot, but I definitely feel it's been worth it. I took the time to actually be able to set up face tracking stuff for like VR chat, and it's actually been really interesting to see people's reactions. Like, wow, like you're actually looking at me, or like seeing my mouth move even though like my mic decided to stop working on the thing, because sometimes I've had that issue where the mic just
Yeah.
stops working, but they can see my lips and everything move. But otherwise, I think it's a pretty solid investment personally, just from like advancing towards the future of VR, because that's another thing too that I have thought
Yeah,
about.
that's a whole extra conversation right there.
Yeah, that's a whole new thing, which I've been curious on what they're doing. I know one of my other friends I ended up bringing on the podcast before. I know whenever I've talked with him about like VR stuff, I know it was like, what was it? There was a couple different headsets that I know he was talking about, and then the eventual like full dive, like going into, I'm trying to remember what it was called, but I know it was into that they actually ended up talking about the potentials of full dive, where you're literally hooked up into the thing and you're able to just hop into the world and walk around, and it would be more free than how you normally expect it, like with the,
Have you seen Disney's new technology for treadmills, essentially?
I heard about it, yeah, where they actually made like an omnidirectional treadmill. I never got to see any of the
Yeah,
pictures of it though, but that's definitely something I know I've heard about that Disney
it's
did.
a
That was
very
interesting.
interesting design.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, VR is really getting going places. Let's say going
Absolutely.
places.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see the. Okay, yeah, I just didn't realize that that was the one that Disney made. I know I saw the look of the, like the rollers where you could just walk and it would look like you're just going straight back to the center. I didn't even know that was Disney that did that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Um, yeah, it is really cool. Uh, let's see. I'm thinking the the MetaQuest
Mm-hmm.
3. Um, I tried it in Japan and it was really nice. And I think
Ooh.
we're 2 steps away from having full mixed reality integration in our lives. I don't think the Apple Apple's headset, uh, what's it called? The Apple,
I'm trying to
gosh,
remember.
whatever it's called.
Yeah,
Uh,
let me
it's
see.
not very open source. It is cool looking, but my understanding is there's not a lot you can do with it.
Oh, yeah, it's the Apple Vision Pro, is what
Apple
it's called.
Vision Pro. I almost wanted to call it the Apple Quest.
That
Um,
that is what it kind of is the Apple Quest, but yeah, it's expensive. But for what it does when
that's
you're
true.
sitting or standing around, I think it's very very nice. If you're able to move
It's
and do that
nice.
stuff, I think that would be more worth the price. But you're just sitting
You
there.
can move around the room. My understanding is you can. Um,
Yeah, you can, but I think the windows just stay stationary.
Yeah, and for what you could get in cost, the Quest 3 can essentially do everything that the Vision Pro can, for the most part,
Mm.
except have fake, lifeless eyes staring at you.
Right, yeah, I would be terrified to have those kind of eyes if someone's wearing the headset just stare at me like that. I would be like, please just. I'd rather them just lift up the headset at that point, and I'd rather see
Yeah,
their eyes that way than whatever's behind
and
the.
the Quest has a decent pass through. It's almost like you're looking at life through, let's say, a 4K security camera. Really
Okay.
nice. It's almost realistic, and you can look at text on a piece of paper or on a computer screen, which you can't with the other headsets. But you can clearly see that it's a camera that you're looking through.
Gotcha.
So close, but no cigar.
Yeah, but they're definitely getting there. Like, very, very, just very close. But
Yeah, our company is ideally going to move to a headset sometime in the future. It's in the pipelines, but
mm-hmm.
it's just not quite there yet. Let me send you our website.
Okay.
You'll have a better understanding. Boom, boom.
Okay. Yeah, immersive training experience. Mm-hmm.
The video resolution of this is horrible. We're getting a new website soon, and
Okay.
the website has its own issues, anyways. But imagine what you see here with a VR headset or an AR headset. That is when it gets there.
Right.
MR, mixed reality. That's
Yeah.
both. Um, this still doesn't do a good job explaining what happens here, but
Mm-hmm.
man, I don't remember where I was going with that.
No, you're fine, but
Oh
it
well.
it looks interesting to say the least. Looking at it, and with it being mixed reality, I'm sure. Just I know you'll look goofy with the headset on and just running around with like what is it like AI like or not AI but I guess
Metahumans.
like yeah metahumans and then actually having to go through a simulation. But I think it's pretty neat just potentially seeing that even happen too because that's I know that's another thing that's been in the pipeline with a bunch of like law enforcement for a while is having like virtual reality training just going through like different scenarios and making sure that everything is nice but yeah because I'm more familiar definitely in like the whenever you scroll down like to the choose your interest like training playing and the events that they have. I'm very familiar with that sort of like setup because I think that was like one of the first things I'm sure they had was like just you have a screen and then you have to face in like that direction to be able to like fire the weapon in that sort of like section of the screen and then continue looking around. Like that was probably the closest you'd have except you have to actually build the environment. But now with
Yeah.
VR and mixed reality, you
We
can
could
just
have a built out environment and not have to face a screen.
exactly, and you can just have it
Yeah.
like as a for the most part, uh, you can still keep the immersion
Omnidirectional.
there. Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
omnidirectional. You can still have like a room where it has like similar stuff there just to keep everything kind of the same, and it's just stuck specifically in the world. I think that's still like just pretty cool as it is, thinking about how simulations are gonna be just as good, if
Yeah.
not
I hear
better.
the void's coming back, by the way.
Oh, the void.
Yeah. You remember the void?
I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I've heard of that name.
It's similar to what you see here, except you've got a virtual reality headset on, um, and you're dropped into an environment like Star Wars, and
Okay.
you've got to navigate your way through. Uh, I never got to experience it, but
I don't know if I ever got to
ship.
experience it
You'd have
either.
your own backpack that would have the charger for the headset and your own blaster. There'd be buttons you'd have to hit and stuff. You navigate through a Star Wars story, essentially.
Okay. So yeah, I'm looking at yeah. First look at the void. Yeah, I'm seeing the that first look. I remember seeing this like way back, but I know I never got to experience it either. But yeah, I see the trailer for it. Yeah, May 5th, 2015 was when that first like debuted. That's insane. Yeah, I saw something with the trailer, but I know I never got to full on experience the void. But wow, I'm
The
surprised
moment
to
I
see
was
that.
finally able to go, COVID happened and it shut down.
Dang.
Um, yeah, that would have been cool to experience.
Yeah, that looks really nice to be able to see, but like I know I had something similar happen where like we were close to being able to go. I'm trying to remember what the convention was, but this was with like a couple other friends that I had back then. They all, of course, like split off and have been doing their own things now, but them and we've all planned to go to a convention. I'm trying to remember what the convention was that we were planning on going to, but it was in Georgia. And of course, like as the days grew like closer past like January into February, that of course was when, you know, COVID and everything happened, and we thought like, oh, it'll just be a small thing. No, like especially by the time it got close, we never really ended up even getting anything. We didn't even get anywhere with it since COVID happened, so we just stopped, and then things kind of happened, and of course, a lot of stuff fell through, so we just like for the most part, most everyone split off in their separate ways, and that one was another thing that COVID, of course, ended up just destroying and taking away from. But otherwise, it was something I was kind of sort of looking forward to as it was, but now looking back at it, I don't know if I'd even do too much there aside from just so much as walking around. But that would have been, I think that would have been technically the first time I saw any like internet friends in person, so to speak. But because of what happened with COVID, that never happened.
And I don't think I've had internet friends since the Xbox 360.
Oh my god, yeah, that's a ways back.
Yeah, I've got the Game Pass on my computer now, but I don't think I'd be able to talk to any of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was a period in my life when I didn't have internet access at all. I it taught me to play single player games.
Oh
Just
yeah.
keep playing them. I do play one multiplayer game, and that's Final Fantasy 14. But even then, I
Mm-hmm.
solo that
Which
for the
isn't
most
really
part,
fair.
except for
Yeah.
dungeons, uh,
Yeah.
matchmaking.
Which also reminds me, because I know, remember remembering when I visited your place like way back when, and you had like Persona 5 like Royal and everything. I'm curious how you reacted with Persona 3 when that came out too.
Persona 3,
Yeah, Persona 3 Reload.
Persona 3 Reload.
Yeah.
I haven't bought it yet. I'm happy it exists.
Oh
That
yeah.
means that someday there's hope for another remake of Persona 4, which is my favorite entry in the series.
Mm-hmm.
Controversial opinion, I wasn't a fan of Persona 5, and I never beat Royal. Um, I just couldn't relate with the characters.
Which is understandable. I have like, because I got Persona 5 Royal, I almost beat the game. I think I'm literally close to a boss fight, but I have not been playing it since. I'm literally like maybe a little over a week in the game before I have a boss fight, and I just never ended up finishing the game. But I've seen the gameplay and everything all throughout up to that point, but I know I just never got to finish it. I know I've heard rumors of, I don't know if there's any remakes, but I know it was Persona 1, 2, and potentially 4 were rumored, but not like officially confirmed to have like remakes.
I've seen 1 and 2 in a recent leak for
Mm-hmm.
like Nintendo Switch, but I don't see how they could remake 1 and make it look good
Yeah.
unless they just reboot everything and get a different cast. But then again, I didn't play Persona 1, and I don't know if people would bombast me for that. But
I don't think a lot of people would,
Persona
because I've heard.
2 could definitely get a remake.
Mm-hmm.
I think I think Adolf Hitler was a boss fight in that
Oh,
game.
yeah. Yeah, I saw like
Yeah,
videos about it. I was like, dang, they literally put him in a Persona game. But yeah, I'm sure they'll probably like take him out and replace him with somebody else. Or probably just remove him entirely. I'm not entirely sure considering the controversy. Then again, it's surprisingly
mm,
so controversial, even,
yeah,
even in today's standards. But
which is crazy.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, Persona 4 would be great. I'll get 3 when I can, but 4, the moment it gets announced, I'll pre-order whatever biggest edition they have
Oh,
and get
absolutely.
that.
Yeah, because I know to
Meanwhile,
finish.
Elden Ring is getting a DLC. Did you do Elden Ring?
No, I haven't played Elden Ring. I've listened to people play it and just watch people play it. I've never delved into it myself, but I know I've been hearing how great it is.
And it's astounding. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I also didn't beat that one. Persona 5, I made it up to the final boss. Elden Ring, I made it up to the final boss. Um, and then I just stopped playing. I don't know if I've got issues
No, I don't play. I
finishing things,
Yeah, I'm the
but
same way with Persona 5 Royal. I stopped playing at like the final boss, and I wanted to get back into it. I'm like, I don't know if I
yeah.
feel like getting back into it. Uh, I'm trying to see what else that I ended up playing. I have Power World as well, and I need to finish like two more of the tower bosses. That was like another game I ended up getting into and playing. I have like 70 hours in it, but yeah, and
I
I have
almost did Power World. I did get Helldivers, actually. Um,
I have it as well. I know the whole thing
or
that happened
Helldivers
with
2.
it. Yeah, the whole thing that happened with that, and people review bombed it literally yesterday and today. Now Sony was like, "All right, we're not going through with it with the
Yeah,
whole PSN requirement.
Democracy has won.
Democracy
Um,
wins."
just goes to show review bombing will get you anywhere.
Oh,
Just kidding.
absolutely. Especially
Um,
with a big change like that.
but what else have I been playing? I've been big into Final Fantasy 14 lately.
Hmm.
There's a new expansion after saving the whole, I guess, universe in Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker. This
Hmm.
expansion is basically go on vacation. Um,
Nice.
of course, it's not going to be that simple, but
Of course.
yeah, I think you've got to compete for. I don't know. I've kept it spoiler free. It looks
Gotcha.
fun though.
Hmm.
I haven't caught up on my post game quests, but I'll do that eventually.
Hmm.
Instead, I've been leveling up my botany skills. I've been going around chopping trees, gathering through bushes. I'm almost level 90. I've spent days and days just hitting trees over and over again, running to the next location and then hitting a tree.
Hmm.
Surprisingly therapeutic. Just put on a YouTube video or a show in the background and get lost.
Oh yeah, that was the same thing. Just going back into Minecraft, just whether I was playing with friends or just deciding, you know what, let's pop into Minecraft for like a little bit and just did that. So that's pretty much what I did with that. Another game which I think you'll find, I guess, just because it's single player, and I found it very interesting and probably the most fun I've had with a single player title was Balatro, which is like a card based game. Believe it's like a roguelike, and you get jokers to help like boost out like your multiplier whenever you're playing different types of
Oops.
hands and all of that fun stuff. It was probably the best like single player experience I think I've had in years when I've played it. Just like the sounds of the game that they did, and then of course with like different the different stuff that they allow you to do. Like you can get five like five of a kind in a sense. You could get like all of like one card, or get like just just a bunch of different like combinations you can do is pretty much endless. I know there's like different sort of like strategies, but once you get like the certain good jokers and good cards, that's when it gets interesting, and you can even go into like specific seeds too. Like you can do a randomly generated playthrough. That's how you unlock everything. But if you go through a seeded run, like with how, like other different titles that have like different randomly generated things go on, you can generate that and you can optimize as much as you want on that one, or just play that just to go through and get whatever potential stuff in there. But I've never done any seeded runs. It was just literally random runs. I ended up finally beating the red ante after probably a good week of practicing with like a bunch of just terrible runs, but it was definitely very fun to just play that, and I'm sure you'd probably like it too. It's therapeutic. It's got like very nice like satisfying sounds too, and you could just definitely put like a video on. Like you'll have to pay a bit of attention on what cards you play, but there's no like time limit or anything that you got to do anything for, but you can definitely just play that. It's like very nice, and one dude ended up making that game.
Hmm.
But it's very, very fun.
What's it called?
Balatro, Balatro.
Balt. Balatro.
Yeah.
So what you're telling me is this is a card game where you can fight things.
In a sense, you're fighting the dealer based on blinds, and usually the boss blind, you end up having different, it's like different modifiers at the boss, where like you can lose $1 for every card that you play, or the blind's like really huge, or you can only play like one hand. Excuse me. But yeah, it's definitely a very interesting sort of thing. But you're basically fighting sort of against the dealer. You go up to 8 of the antes, and then after that you can either end the run there, or you can go to endless mode and you can continue that. But as soon as you go into endless, the scaling is really, really high. But it's a very fun game to just spend some time on and try to get to learn, because you can level up different like different like with the celestial packs, like different card packs, like 2 pair, like a pair, 3 of a kind, any of like the different kind of like poker hands that you can play. I don't know why I was forgetting the word, but you can definitely do that. And there's also like different challenges too the more you play through. Like once you get through certain parts of the game, then you're able to go ahead and play through and do pretty much whatever you like in the game. It's a bunch of different effects, a bunch of different stuff. It takes a little bit to learn, but once you understand, especially with how all the cards and stuff are, what the modifiers are, it's very fun to try and go through and just play. It's a blast.
Yeah, I'm looking at it here. It looks fun. It reminds me of my game design one project. I believe it was Remy, right? He wanted us to make a board game or an analog game, and I made a
Yes.
card game where you would fight a boss, and you've got to use your hand strategically.
Oh yeah, I definitely remember. I remember that class too. I know that was like probably one of the tougher ones. Not like the worst one, but definitely a tough class that I had remembered. Like,
Yeah, I've got. I think I still have my cards, or at least I find them laying around, the custom ones that I made.
oh my, I don't even think I have any of the stuff I ended up making from my analog game, but that's insane. You still have yours even to this day.
Well, it's just a deck of cards and
Mm-hmm.
poster board. Um, Man, that was a time. I remember being told that it wasn't very good. And then later, Yoko Taro came out with a game that was essentially the same thing.
That's weird.
And here's Balatro as well.
Mm, yeah.
Very similar concept to what I had.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, no, it definitely works. I'm surprised that anyone said it wasn't good. I mean, especially with the fact that, like, again, analog, I know there's a lot more to the imagination, but definitely with stuff like this, it absolutely can work.
Yeah.
Which I know I remember playing your game, and I think I ended up liking a bit of it. I know just because analog was like not really my thing, but I definitely liked the whole concept as it was, and of course with this, that's why I'm like I definitely really liked it, and here it is. But
I'm not.
that's why I always
Yeah.
think as well. Have you like thought of at one point where you thought like, because I know I did this in high school. Did you ever think like you did one thing and somehow like it became sort of a like, I don't know if you could call it like a trend, but just like people that ended up just deciding to do that now, and you're like, did I do that? Or like whether it's with a game or just with anything in general, because I'm sure this felt like one of those.
Yes. I don't know if it was in high school, but essentially what I had with my card game happened two other times.
Dang.
And uh, I don't recall what either of those were. I guess I've gotten over it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I guess that just goes to show don't let people put your ideas down.
Exactly, because you know.
There's a massive audience out in the world for anything. Um,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Especially for stuff like this. I mean, like you really had a good idea going, and I again personally liked it. I just know like there's people that just bog it to a point where it's like, well, it's totally not going to work, and then someone else does it and it hits really well. It's just a matter of like, I know there's timing, but there's also like, you know, there's people that think it isn't going to do well, but then of course they'll easily get proven wrong at some point or another about it. And it's, yeah, because I know I've had people say the same thing. I'd have to figure out which thing it was of mine that I ended up doing. I completely forgot the project I had. I'm sure I haven't seen anything similar to it, but if I did, I probably wouldn't even know if it was something similar to what I had. But I know definitely it's worth to just either continue on your idea or just don't have people look at that idea, because then, you know, someone else is going to end up seeing it, put it out, and they get the credit, so to speak, for it.
yeah. No, I know I'm on no scale
Oh, yeah.
compared to the great almighty Yoko Taro, but just interesting that that happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I know I say the same thing. I'm not on a great scale if I somehow ended up starting something that actually got itself like up there, but it's still nice. It's that, and with the time of indie games, that's literally also the biggest thing where people are just throwing out ideas, and I'm sure plenty of them have been sticking, because that's why like Lethal Company 2 was just again made by one dude, but all it is simply just you go around and you scavenge for stuff, because I think it's another similar game to Balatro, but you're literally going around collecting different stuff, and then after like 3 days, you end up selling it to a big like sea monster looking dude,
Hmm.
and you end up getting paid for it to then go ahead and get more money to spend on stuff, and then just continue doing the same cycle over and over again. But that one was also very fun, but it's more fun with friends than it is by
Yeah.
yourself, just because that's a more social game than anything. I still have plenty of fun with it playing. I know people now, it's slowly dropped down in popularity, but it's still definitely there.
Yeah, it is. I'm sure all it would take would be a good content update for people to flock back to it again.
Oh, absolutely. I think, yeah, the last update was April 13th, where they actually added a new moon, 3 new entities, a new trap, and a disco ball. And there's plenty of other stuff, I'm sure, that I probably miss. Oh yeah, two new suits as well. Easter eggs which can be thrown. The They updated to where like you slowly like go up hills, but then if you go down a hill, you like run faster, and
That makes sense.
all of that. Yeah, that's like kind of the main thing. I'm sure he's probably like getting something else put up in there. I know I haven't gone back. Yeah, I haven't gone back since before version 50, but otherwise it's definitely fun with friends. Playing single player definitely is interesting and very difficult, to say
I
the
bet.
least. But
Yeah, that's how it seemed.
mm-hmm.
Did you do Baldur's Gate 3
I
when
have
that came out?
I have not gotten into Baldur's Gate when it came out. The I know it didn't personally interest me, but I've seen like how people played it. I really like what they did with the game as well. Like the how like everything that was in like the industry standard should be, but it definitely looks like it plays really really well. I just don't think it would be personally for me, considering that's not like my sort of demographic of where I go and play. But it looks really
That's
good,
fair.
and it definitely looks like it plays really well, and just the amount of choices that you seemingly have in the game from what I've even seen. Like I've seen maybe no two playthroughs aside from maybe like the uh prologue. I'm pretty sure was like kind of sort of identical, but of course everyone has like their own characters and stuff. But
Yeah.
aside from that, like I didn't really see any two playthroughs be in almost any way similar, aside from like maybe a couple specific choices that were chosen, but that's it.
Yeah, I'm still in Act 1. I guess I haven't played it for very long, but I've had it for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's I don't want to call it difficult because people have a easy time going through it or an easy enough time going through it, but it's difficult to me and I
Mm-hmm.
can't figure out why. It's got multiplayer to it, but I don't understand how someone would play a game like that in multiplayer when it's so decision heavy.
Yeah, that's the thing too that I'm like surprised with, because I know I think that one's also like turn based, based on like which player. I don't know if it's like
It's
player one goes
uh,
first and all of that, or if it's
technically turn-based. It's speed-based, I think, and that determines the turn. but you can do a lot of stuff in one turn. Like you can move up to 30 feet, I believe,
Okay.
and you can do multiple types of attacks as long as they're differently branded. Maybe after this, I'll get back into Baldur's Gate.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just find the most hackish way to get through where I currently am.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but yeah, it's fascinating how they pulled that off.
Yeah, it's also amazing. I mean, I know with them also making like Divinity 2, I think it was Divinity 2 Original Sin, and
Yeah,
some of their other titles, I'm sure, like, and I think from what I heard, it took like, I'm trying to remember how long. I think it was like 6 years for the game, unless I'm thinking of something completely different. But I think it was
I
six
feel
years.
like it's been 6 years, or at least they were in early access for at least 6 years, maybe. I
Yeah, because
honestly don't know. I remember Baldur's Gate 3 getting announced. Then I
yeah, it was
remember
announced a
seeing gameplay for it.
yeah, it was announced a whole while back. I gotta double check when the first announcement actually was for it. 'Cause it definitely was like announced very early on. Yeah,
And the
Baldur's Gate
game looked
3.
really cool as well when it got announced. It still looks cool, but then I heard like kind of good things about it, and then it officially came out,
Oh yeah, it's
and
2019, June
yeah,
6,
that's
2019 when it was first announced, which is insane. Yeah, because I definitely remember hearing about it, but never. I don't think there was any gameplay back then. It was just like, hey, it's Baldur's Gate 3, but I'm sure it had like a huge development hell and just slowly kind of stopped. Or not stopped, but more like it slowed down a lot, I'm sure, and then sped back up.
yeah. I don't know if it was necessarily a development hell. It's a blind spot for me.
That's true. Because then again, there was also COVID as well, I'm sure, because that was like. Because with it being announced in 2019, that was literally. Yeah, it was literally maybe a month after we were graduated directly, and
Oh, it
since
wasn't a
then, that's
month
been.
after we graduated. It was maybe about a year after we graduated. There was a Hall of Fame. There's the one that you went to, and then there was another one. And the day that that ended, the day after Full Sail shut down for COVID, um,
Okay,
for the pandemic.
gotcha.
And I remember being in the middle of microcontrollers class, and my professor had to mail me a soldering iron so he could continue working.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. And then for some reason the soldering iron didn't work.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Microcontrollers is fun. It's fun to fidget with gadgets. I've learned Full Sail has taught me to fidget with gadgets, um, gizmos, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got wires strewn about all across my office, an Arduino somewhere, and I've got a cheap little 3D printer as well. I'm
Nice.
a In my heart of hearts, I'm a fabricating game designer, fabricator and a game designer. But
Heck yeah.
leaning more towards fabrication, but also I don't really get time to think about that with my workflow.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah.
So I think one more thing, because I know it's like, for me, it's almost 8 o'clock, but I'll still have
Yeah.
like, I'll still have a little bit of time even after, but I'm curious as well with like fabricate, like what all have you ended up actually managed to make with it, with like the 3D
So
printer and everything.
with my 3D printer, um, not a lot. I got these acrylic base plates while I was in Japan on my
Ooh.
honeymoon. Um, I made a little stand for them, or I started to make them, and then my subscription to some things ran out,
Hmm.
and I'm currently too poor to pick that back up, but all in time.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I used my Arduino to power a little what's called a NeoPixel. It's just a bunch of LEDs, or mine is the series of LEDs next to each other. I was making it glow.
Hmm.
Um, just hobby things, really. Um, but in my full sail simulation and visualization career, I made a rendition of Monkey Ball for Unity.
Ooh. I think I remember you talked about it like fairly briefly too. Making a
Yeah, I don't know if I got to show it to you,
No, I don't think I got to see it. I know you definitely talked about it.
but I made my own trackball with a glass sphere,
That's awesome.
and I had a little steward platform that would, in reality, it should have reflected the level. Uh, Technically, I guess it did, how flat the level was,
Mm-hmm.
but it would also tilt depending on what the world was like. Except I don't have all of the monkey ball secrets.
Oh.
Uh, how they made their games. But funnily enough, oh, part two, to my, they did this after I initially had done something similar.
Mm-hmm.
I made my monkey ball project in Unity, and then months later, I mean, I didn't advertise this or anything,
Mm-hmm.
so I know they didn't just steal an idea, and they were just working on it regardless.
Oh yeah.
Months later, Super Monkey Ball, it wasn't Banana Blitz, it was the latest one, not the new one that's coming out, but the last one that came out.
Oh, I think
Banana Mania.
yes, that one. Because I saw that come out. I was like, ooh. Because I was
I was
curious
so
enough to like.
excited.
Yes, I was
I
just as
bought
excited to
that.
see it again.
The first one of the first splash screens that comes up is made in Unity.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
Yeah. Small problem though.
Huh.
Unity's physics and the monkey ball physics that I'm familiar with.
Or.
I even brought my PlayStation 2 into class for parallels, to draw parallels.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the physics are completely different, and I can't enjoy the Unity version.
Yeah, I heard how like different and just not monkey ball like the physics are.
Yeah, and it's either too floaty or it's too heavy. It's been a while since I've played it. Um,
Yeah, it's been a while since I've played one of the monkey balls. I've been curious to get it just to see how different the controls are, but yeah, that's been the biggest thing that I've heard was the physics are so different and the controls aren't that good.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it, at least. They do have a new Monkey Ball game coming out, though, so hopefully that'll be
Yeah,
addressed.
I might end up seeing about that then and wait until that one comes out and see. But yeah, I've liked Monkey Ball just as much. I just haven't played that in years since then, and I've only remember playing at least one, maybe two, on the GameCube, and that was the most I remember playing Monkey Ball. I haven't played any of like the. I don't think I played any of the titles in between at all. Just the first two.
My childhood Monkey Ball game was Super Monkey Ball World, and it wasn't an open world Monkey Ball game, but it was open zone. At least the story mode was. And
Yeah.
throughout it, you would learn Ocarina of Time esque movements or buttons, sounds,
Mm-hmm.
songs, technically, uh, where you could cast spells around the world and modify the environment, except every single dialogue you get through the game, it's got like the text that you read, but it's fully voice acted, and all they say is ooh ooh ee, ah, ah,
Yeah, that
ah.
was. I don't know why. It just makes it so funny to me. I think that was. I know definitely Monkey Ball 2 had the same thing, and they actually had a song or like a little like tune before going after like the baboon, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was there in World because I'm sure he was. I know he was like gone in 2. I don't know if he came back in World or not.
I couldn't bring myself to finish the story mode. I honestly have no idea what that game was about.
That's fair. I ended up watching recently about like what the different Monkey Balls titles were. I know like the first game, I don't remember if the first one had a story, but the second one definitely did and was about like this baboon guy that you had to go through and fight and beat like 10 different levels. And then after that, you would just defeat him after like the 10th level, and then it would just go to a different cutscene, and then they would just like sing with like their monkey noises like ooh ooh ee ooh, or and then after that they just go and they fly over somewhere else, and then that's when the levels start. That went through, I don't know how many zones they even had. They probably had like 7 zones with 10 levels each, but that was that game. And then I heard World was when like that one was a just interesting title as it was, considering it was a newer gen game, and I believe it was the physics too that weren't as great, or like it was something about the game that wasn't that good. It was like either the story or it was the physics or it was something about it.
It's definitely something about that game is not good, and there's a lot that you could go off of there.
Mm-hmm.
There was these gates that you had to open, and there would be a little
Yeah.
spin wheel in the middle of it, and you had to roll it, and it was so slow and frustrating.
Oh god, yeah. I saw just from the gameplay too. That was one of those that they had very big issues with. I'm trying to remember what else there was too that like just was. God, I couldn't tell you. I know I like almost forgot most of the video, but it was definitely a interesting experience to see. I just know it was like a very weird entry, and then I don't know how long in between one or two other titles of Monkey Ball that they had before it just seemingly became abandoned, or just nothing really was happening to it until Monkey Ball Mania. But
Yeah, I think the last entry was something like Banana Blitz, and it was for the Wii.
I
People
think,
didn't like it
yeah,
because they had little bumpers in every level, so it was hard to roll off.
yeah, yeah. I remember that being talked about, where it was just overall not good. Like, and it was literally just a shell of
Yeah.
what it was. Yeah.
Apparently, there's a community mod scene for Monkey Ball. I really want to get into it, but I don't know where uh, people are using that. But I also haven't looked into it enough for it.
Gotcha. I didn't even know there was a modding scene for Monkey Ball at all, but that's something I know I might end up getting into. And if they have like good quality of life and just changes to certain stuff about it, I think it'd be fun to try and get into.
Yeah, definitely. I I need more Monkey Ball in my life, but I need more Monkey Ball, but with good physics in my life.
Oh, absolutely. Because I know I may as well try playing the first and second games again, because I know those ones were very fun when I remembered playing them. Those were like probably the most vivid memories I have of that game. But since then, I had not at all been versed into any more of the Monkey Ball lore until I watched that one video of like what happened with the rest of the games, and I was like, okay, I guess I did not miss much at all. I don't even know
Yeah,
if I did get the. I don't even remember if I got the Wii version or not, because I had a Wii, but I don't remember us having that Super Monkey Ball game. I don't think I remember us ever having it. If we did, I do not remember at all playing it that much. If I ever did, because I'm pretty sure it was in universal acclaim, like that it was just bad, and I probably repressed it at that point if I somehow don't remember it. But
yeah, it's entirely possible.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks like it's getting close to the end. If you have anything else before, I probably think that it would be a good time to go ahead and call it, because it's almost
Yeah,
an
I've
hour
got
mark.
a small story to tell, but I guess
Mm-hmm.
it's just me complaining a little.
Oh,
You know
you're good.
Cyberpunk 2077?
Yes.
You know how it's based off of D&D-esque uh, series of well, it's based off of a Dungeons and Dragons variant called
Okay.
Cyberpunk 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Once
I'm.
upon a time, I tried to make a whole campaign. I had everything blocked out, and it was for like a couple of high school friends.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was filled with like inside jokes that only they would know.
Uh,
And it was going to be really nice. And
mm-hmm.
then they stopped being friends and hate each other.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And I've just been stuck here with this cyberpunk campaign in my head that will never be seen to completion. It's not going to make a
That
sense to anyone else.
sucks. Oh,
And I had a
no.
pretty great idea for teleportation based combat. Like you would do a move,
Ooh.
but something would activate and you would be in a completely random location due to technology malfunction.
That
So you would
actually
have
sounds
to
horrible.
navigate through your surroundings. Every turn it would change your surroundings. And you would have to make do with what you had.
That genuinely sounds like a really cool concept.
Yeah. With you can only go, well, I don't fully know D&D rules. I don't remember them. I did it with Lloyd, Leslie, and Roy
Mm-hmm.
once while we all started our new degrees, and Lloyd moved and Leslie moved in with him, and they were far away, so it
Mm-hmm.
just kind of didn't work out after a
Aw.
point. But man, I've lived with this frustration for quite some time now,
Oh no. I am
and
so sorry.
it's okay. I'll cope. But I wanted to get that out there.
Yeah, that's completely understandable. I mean, if anything, it's definitely there, and if people think that that's a really good idea, I mean, I'm sure it'll probably pop up somewhere. I'm sure, considering
And
all the other things that have likely happened, it's possible, but
yeah,
even
so if you see a game with teleportation-based combat, no, that's not fair. Final Fantasy 15 had teleportation-based combat, but it wasn't randomized. And
okay.
yeah, I know a first-person game would be very disorienting, and a third-person game would actually be very disorienting. But
Oh
if you
yeah.
ever see that, know that
You had the
I've had
idea.
plans for that first.
Yeah, yeah. It was my idea. I thought of
Yeah,
this.
it's on the internet now, so it's time-stamped.
Yeah, this time
Yeah.
stamped at the very end.
In fact, I'm copywriting it. Anyone who does that, sued
You're getting
instantly.
sued for
Yeah, you heard
doing.
it here first. Moderately generic idea with another moderately generic idea. No one else can do it.
But yeah, I think other than that, I know I don't have anything else as far as
Yeah,
news.
I think that's it for me too.
Cool, yeah, and God, and I have like 50 minutes before I have to go to work, but I will
Oh
be
man.
fine. I'm not
Mm,
too worried about it. I can definitely do this stuff during the weekend. I just gotta remember to not start so fucking late. That's like the only thing is if I start up at like, I say this time and then, we talk and then after that it's like, all right, let's go ahead and try to start it and then because I don't want to end up doing it super late to the point where I end up having to go, all right, let's stop like almost immediately, but I know it's definitely been at a very, very solid spot. So if anything,
yeah,
definitely any other times that you end up thinking about hopping on, or even while I'm at it too, I have the Discord. If you end up feeling like joining that as well, and we can,
yeah, go ahead and invite me.
yeah, I got you, because I know I have that, and we can just discuss like different announcements on like what days you might want to do the podcast or even in general just chat and hang out. And I know I'll definitely try for Tuesdays, but I know you're gonna be busy during that day, and I know I can do like any certain points like during the weekend. I just know I'd have to do them like early enough before I have to go to work that day, but at any point, and even on like Monday or whichever days that you're good.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I'll definitely be posting and tagging about that stuff, and at least do a podcast like once a week. if anything. And if you're able to make it, you can. If you can't, that is perfectly fine.
Okay.
There's no need to feel pressure to be in there either. But
Yeah.
you're more than welcome to.
All right.
But other than that, I would say I'll go ahead and call it here for everyone else watching. Thank you to everyone for watching and anyone who's tuned in for quite a bit of the stream. Aside from this, I know I won't be likely having a podcast coming up tomorrow just because I already had these two going on, so I'll likely be off for that, but I'll be going through and doing different announcements, see who wants to hop in for the next podcast like next week, and I'll be figuring out like different topics and stuff to have everyone talk about. But other than that, thank you again, Arlie, for hopping on with me on the podcast.
And thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely, anytime. And again, thank you everyone else who stuck by to watch, and for anyone that's viewing off of the YouTube live, thank you for listening as well. Again, anyone who can or can't make it, all the lives will be sitting up on the channel for anyone to view. And if you can make it, awesome. If you can't, that's perfectly fine. That's why all the lives are sitting there in the channel. But thank you for watching. I will see everyone in the podcast next week when we try to figure out a good title and good topics to talk about.